Thank you for joining us back here. We're going to talk about St. Maximilian Kolbe.
Yes.
Or Kolbe, depending on who you talk to.
I guess we'll just switch it up.
Your husband, Michael, his confirmation name is Maximilian, St. Maximilian. And then your son is actually named after him.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit into the bio. So he lived from 1894, died about 1941. He was cremated on the feast day of Our Lady of during her Assumption.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is crazy to me because it kind of shows like how much Mary really did play a role in his life.
So I'm going to read what we have here from Truthfully. St. Maximilian Mary Kolbe, most well-known patron saint of addiction. So he was born in 1894, died in 1941. He's the best known patron saint for addiction. He was a Franciscan friar from Poland who spent much of his adult life spreading devotion to Mary. He's venerated as a patron saint for addiction due to his profound understanding of the human struggle with sin and his unwavering commitment to helping those in need. I've also heard, I think Michael told me this, but they ended up making him the patron saint of addiction because he was in the starvation chamber and he did not starve to death, so they ended up having to lethally inject him. His own life experiences combined with his spiritual teachings and selfless sacrifice, making him a compelling intercessor for those battling addiction. His life and teachings show that addiction can be overcome through the power of faith, prayer, and the support of a loving community. Just as he relied on the intercession of the Virgin Mary, he encourages those struggling with addiction to turn to her as a compassionate and understanding mother who leads us closer to her son, Jesus Christ. His feast day is August 14th, and he means a lot to me because of my story with my son, Maximilian. So I was first introduced to St. Maximilian Kolbe because of my husband. He chose him as his patron saint, and then we ended up naming our first son Maximilian. And little did I know that St. Maximilian Kolbe would end up being the most powerful intercessor for our son when he was on the brink of meeting God. And I ended up holding on to St. Maximilian Kolbe through my prayer life because I found out he was the patron saint of addicts. I have addicts in my family. I think a lot of us do. And through his intercession, through the years, my son is now 7 years old. I have seen addictions break, not only within myself, but people within my family. And I can see God's light shining through the cracks. There's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of prayers to be said, and a lot of interior lives to be transformed. But I think that's just the journey of life. And I love St. Maximilian Kolbe.
I did want to give just a little bit more of like the history. So he, at 12 years old, actually got a vision from Mary, kind of giving him 2 set of crowns in this vision, a red crown and a white crown. The white representing purity and red representing like he would be known for martyr, if I can talk. And he ended up choosing both. And so throughout his life, he always ended up, talking to Mary first when it came to any decision. And so that, what was it? The Fury that he was in? You just read it in the beginning. He had his own Fury.
He was a Franciscan friar.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was known that he talked to Mary really quick to kind of figure out where to place this. Place the Fury. What is it? The Fury? Sorry. Friar. I keep wanting to say the Fury. Friar. And he ended up placing it along like a certain side of the mountain. And later on, that's where in Japan ended up getting nuked on the other side. So him putting that place there on that side of the mountain didn't end up getting touched by the nuclear bomb.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. And then 2, Mary played so much of a role, which is kind of cool because now we're in the month of Mary, but in his life. So if you consecrate yourself to Mary, you're also going to see stuff about him, and consecrating yourself to Saint Maximilian Kolbe. And then to your lethal injection, it was also known that he willingly gave them his arm, which, is very powerful. Like, he was ready, and he knew where he was going. So 2, in the consecration, the Auschwitz. So apparently a man escaped, and as punishment, they chose 10 prisoners. And from there, they were sent off to the starvation bunker. He volunteered to go up in place of another man who had a family. And it was known from a janitor. It's believed a janitor or somebody that would go in there that translated for them. He would open the door and see whether or not who has lived and stuff like that, and report back to the Nazis to let them know what's kind of going on there day by day, because they were in there for 2 weeks. And so he was kind of a witness to all of it. And he said, all you can hear is always the singing and prayer and people kneeling around him, that led him through all of that. And it was almost like a place of worship.
I believe he led the prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he led the prayers. And
Kolbe. By the end of it, there was 4 of them still remaining by the end of 2 weeks. And that's kind of when it led to the injections.
I think he was the last one left. I think everybody else starved, and then he was the last one, and they had to lethally inject him.
I don't know. It was so amazing, learning about him, learning about him and everything he went through, and then just the way he led everything through Mary. And then it also, throughout learning, the reason why they say he was a patron for the 20th century was because everything he did, he had his own radio, he had his own newspaper. And so when I'm reading this, I'm like, man, I wonder if he was alive, when Carlos Acutis, if I'm saying his name right, Acutis, if they would be best friends. Because they said if Saint Maximilian was alive now, he would be on Twitter, Facebook, doing whatever he can to get all the information out about God and Mary and bringing people to her.
Yeah, he would 100% have a podcast today, but to us it would be normal. He's just a normal guy. I mean, now retrospectively, it's you can see how his life just kind of came together and how he served for the glory of God. But if he were to live today, he would totally be. I mean, he definitely got a lot of the backlash from people, but I mean, today being online, he would have gotten it hard. People who do talk about God and try to evangelize online do get it hard. So he definitely would have been one of those. I forgot that he had that he was kind of up to date on technology.
Yeah, and it spread the word through that way.
Yeah.
I think it was said that his printer press was running 24 hours, 6 days a week. Dang. Yeah, and so it was nonstop. And I'm trying to think what else I had in my head. Too, I think it's also willing to note too that it's believed that his mother was Polish and his father was German, so he could have took a easier route of claiming his German side, but he chose not to, and he chose to continue printing against the Nazis. So he continued to go about that route for, in a way, a political way, but then also doing what was right, and it just shows his bravery.
That's amazing, that point, because today, we could apply that today.
Mm-hmm.
Where does our loyalty lie? Is it within our ethnicity, or where we hold our citizenship, or what political party we align with, or is it God? You're right. He totally could have just been like, no, I'm German. I'm good.
Yeah, and stepped back and just completely stayed quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But he continued
he sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
And the guy that he saved ended up watching his canonization. So when he became a saint, the guy that he saved was there. Isn't that cool?
That's so crazy. I didn't know that. Yeah. So I mean, really, you guys are learning with us, because I can't say it enough. Like, you know, freshly converted and reconvert. So
I don't know how to pronounce his name. Francisek Gaginowski.
Oh, who he traded places with?
Yeah. I butchered that name. I'm so sorry. Oh, gosh.
But so you got to think, he made sacrifices on so many different ends. Like a sacrifice, one, not claiming the German side, a sacrifice, taking the place of this other man.
Becoming a priest.
Becoming a priest. Also, whenever, I believe he made it, I believe it's in Poland. They call it the city of... he was able to gather up people and bring them to the faith, and he wanted to build this community. So now it's known as the city of Immaculate.
Here's a book that Michael has, A Man for Others, Maximilian Kolbe, the Saint of Auschwitz, in the words of those who knew him, by Patricia Treese. I also have not read this book. All the books that I have been showing you, I have not read. I intend to read once my kids are a little bit older.
So it is a Polish word in which I do not know how to pronounce it, so I will not even try and mess it up. But it is translated to the city of Immaculate. So
City of the Immaculate. Oh yeah, City of the Immaculata. So St. Maximilian Kolbe City is called, wow, yeah, no.
Yeah. I was like, that's why I
don't want to butcher it. I'm gonna start looking up these pronunciations, and Michael is part Polish. So
and then also formed like the MI. And he's known to like have the other
Militia Immaculata.
Yeah. He formed that, and that's something I didn't really get into just yet, but that's definitely another conversation for another time.
In this book.
And starting off every morning with the other fathers and stuff like that is believed to have them go outside and do jumping jacks and whatnot. So he believed in like the strength behind having strength to be able to tackle every day.
So I have a little blurb here about the Militia Immaculata. This is from the 33 Days to Morning Glory by Father Michael Gately. I consecrated myself to Mary, and there is a section in here with St. Maximilian Kolbe. So I'm going to read this part. Perhaps because of his natural intensity and passion, Kolbe felt a particularly strong desire to give himself to a specific mission or goal. One of his classmates in the minor seminary relates, he often said that he desired to consecrate his entire life to a great idea. Kolbe's great idea eventually crystallized into what he called the Militia Immaculata, which he started in 1917 with 6 of his fellow seminarians. The MI, as they called it, truly was a great idea, at least in the sense of its ambition. Its goal was nothing less than to bring the whole world to God through Christ under the generalship of Mary Immaculate, and to do so as quickly as possible. Fulfilling this mission through obedience to God's will in union with Mary Immaculate was Kolbe's entire concern, his pure intention, and he sacrificed everything for its accomplishment, which brings us to the red crown. You were talking about earlier, the white and the red crown. Yeah. the Marian militia. That he had such a strong devotion to Our Lady, and I think that's why he's one of the greatest saints, because he directed us to her. Now, she's not God, but she reflects. She's like the best saint that there is, and that's why he's holding a rosary in his statue. Let me grab that.
One is in Polish and one is in Japanese, and then for the books, and then the striped pajamas for representing his time at Auschwitz, and then the rosary representing his love for Mary, and bringing people to God through Mary. That's another neat fact. I love that they did put the books, the one in Japanese, because when I was reading about him, it was like he was only there for 1 month and had already created like a newspaper, and he had no idea how to speak Japanese and everything. And so it was just another way that Mary worked through his life and to be able to create that and spread the word even in Japan. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I know I keep talking about my relationship to these saints, but that's another thing. So I was born in Japan, and when I found out that he was a missionary out there, I was like, oh, another connection to Saint Maximilian. And then
really... Michael, his confirmation name is Maximilian. It's like all like tied in.
And Addicts. He was huge in my prayers when I was praying for my friends and family who have addictions. And I'm telling you, addiction's broke. It works. It works, guys. It's almost like people do it for a reason.
Yeah. He is also known as a martyr for charity. Let's see. I know I wrote it down. Yeah, martyr of charity, because of how many people that he helped and take in. It was known or believed, I think, around 2,000 people of Jews that he was able to try to help, I guess, kind of keep safe in a way, but also within that city to bring them to Mary. It's okay. Sorry, we're hearing a little bit of clunking around up there.
We have construction going on upstairs.
Yeah.
If you are ever curious about any saint that's ever mentioned in your life, you can type their name. So like Saint Maximilian Kolbe, and put the saint, patron of, and it'll give you a whole list of what they're known for. Or if you're thinking about something in your life and you're like, oh man, I really would like to ask for the intercession of somebody who has experience with like mental illness, Saint Dymphna. There you go. You could just look up patron saint of mental illness and it'll pull up a list of saints. So Saint Maximilian Kolbe is the patron saint of drug addicts, prisoners, families, journalists, amateur radio operators, and the pro-life movement. Canonized as a martyr of charity by Pope John Paul II, Saint Pope John Paul II in 1982, he is also known as the patron of our difficult century for his self-sacrifice at Auschwitz. Key aspects of his patronage includes addicts in recovery, chosen due to his death by lethal injection, carbolic acid, and his ministry to those with addictions. Prisoners and political prisoners. He volunteered to die in a place of a stranger in the Auschwitz concentration camp. Journalists and radio operators. Kolbe was a publisher and utilized radio to spread his faith. 100% would be a podcaster today. Families. He is a patron of family life, likely connected to his sacrifice to save a married man. What an incredible sacrifice. And he's well known.
You know what? When I was looking into him, something just popped in my head whenever they started talking about the lethal injection, and that's why like he's very much known for being the saint for those with addictions. And in my head, God was really talking to me. He was like, basically, I thought about, man, how many people do I come up across that I'm like driving, and especially like where I used to live, you see it a lot more, I think, than maybe over here. But you'll come across people on drugs just walking around and stuff like that. And to me, I was always like, roll up the window, stay away, like, don't make eye contact. And then God literally just said to me, and how many times have you prayed for that person?
Conviction.
Yeah. And it was just like right there. It literally happened as he said that. That's what popped up in my head was, the crackheads, as I would know them, drug addicts that were at the gas stations or walking along the streets. And how many times have I just kept rolling fast? And all I heard in my head was, how many times have you prayed for that person? And I was just like, you got me there. You got me there. And I just like, so now it's, what, when I see the next one, it definitely, it brings me back to like, what have I done as far as like prayer for that person? Because it's not only the people that are around me that need prayer, it's those that are so drifted apart and drifted away that really need it. And one prayer might make a difference. One prayer, might take tons of prayers for that one person. But if I can just at least pray for his soul, or her soul, hoping that she can maybe have a conviction, have somebody step into their lives, or have this aha moment to stop or get their life back.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people feel that. A lot of people can relate to that, right? You see somebody on the street that's stumbling or acting crazy. Your natural reaction is to protect yourself, right? And then
or get away from me, like,
right. Stories that we heard growing up.
I mean, it's real. Like that's,
yeah.
I'm not. I never stopped and then I made me think, wow, I never had that reaction to just stop and pray for that person. And I hear you now, God. I will do it. I will do it.
I think about addicts every day because I was an addict. And I didn't do any hardcore drugs. I never touched that stuff because I saw what it did to my friends. Mm-hmm. And I know people who have died from like heroin overdoses. But I was addicted to alcohol and weed. And a lot of people are. And it's really easy to hide. You could just throw the bottles away, throw them in the recycling bin before someone comes over. You could go take a hit. And if you're good at covering up the smell, like you're fine. But it really takes over your life. And I have friends, a lot of us know, like pill pushers and people who are on cocaine and can't live without it because your body relies on it. And so I think about addicts every day because I think of what I went through in my own life, and having prayed for the intercession of St. Maximilian Kolbe and also Mary's, praying the Rosary with the intention that my loved ones would be freed the same way that I was freed. I actually have a story. I'm going to share it. And if I need to cut it out later, I will. I don't know why I have to preface this. During the first year of being an intentional Catholic, I was suddenly woken up in the middle of the night. I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I saw this boy's face in my mind. And I had not thought about this kid. He's a man at this point. I have not thought about this man in years. So I was like, okay, you know what? I went on Instagram, looked up his mom because I met him through his mom. And I saw that she had sent me a message months before. And she said, "Hey, Alyssa, I have something very important to tell you. Can you please call me?" And I didn't see that message. So I messaged her back right away. And I was like, "Hey, I know it's really early in the morning, but I just saw this and I just thought about your son and I just wanted to reach out." And so she calls me in the morning. We went to Mass and she called me right after Mass. And she's like, "Hey, Alyssa, I'm sorry to say this, but Angelo died of a heroin overdose last year." And I didn't know what to say because it was her only son. And I knew he was struggling with it. They had sent him to rehab for it. I think multiple times, actually. And I said, hey, I'm so sorry this happened. Do you want to meet up? Just talk about it and kind of catch up on life. And she said, yeah. So we set up a date. A couple weeks later, we met at the Shrine of Christ Passion in St. John. Her ex-husband, and her sister came. And so these are Angelo's parents and her sister. And we walked the trail. And on the trail, I had the most beautiful experience with the Holy Spirit. I remember just like as we were talking, like we kept finding connections, and like his dad was crying and I was crying, and we got up to, I don't remember, is it the 13th station? That's the crucifixion. So we got to the crucifixion up on the top of the hill, and his dad starts crying, and he's like, every station leading up to it, he's kissing Jesus, and he's talking about his son and how he really tried to help him. And so we go down, we go to the shop, and me and Angelo's dad go up to the rosaries. And I was like, I really think you guys should get one of these. And so he picked one out, and then I picked one out for Angelo's mom, and we went and had breakfast after that. But had I not woken up and just messaged Angelo's mom at that moment, I never would have found out that he had passed away from an overdose. And we never would have gotten into the conversation about prayer and the rosary. Because she had asked me, what do I do now? Because she was struggling. Her only baby's gone. And so I told her about the rosary, and she's like, oh, I don't want to pray. You know, that's such a long prayer. I said, but it's a really good one. Is she
Catholic?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
they were.
You know, like nominal Catholic.
Yeah.
So I talked to her about the rosary. And so after we got the rosaries from the gift shop, we went to, After we got the rosaries from the gift shop, we went to her car, and she gave me a box of Narcan. Narcan is a nasal spray that you administer to somebody who's having an overdose. You're supposed to do 2 of them. So I always keep Narcan in my purse. I've had it since she gave it to me. I actually have it in my bathroom. But you talked about like praying for, God had convicted you to pray for an addict on the street. That's why I keep it. That's my prayer. That's my weapon. And so time goes by, and then we end up, I just was thinking about her one day, and I called her, and I was like, hey, how's it going? And she goes, Alyssa, why'd you call me today? Did Angelo speak to you? And I was like, no, I don't know. I just felt like I should have. And she was like, well, his death anniversary is tomorrow, and we're going to the cemetery. Would you please meet me there? Oh. So I met up with them. We had brunch, and
did you even realize that was his?
No. Well, okay. See, I'm butchering the story. This is why I need to write it out. I might just cut this part out, but I did actually think about him, or he just like popped into my head the same way that I like woke up in the dead of the middle of the night and just thought about him out of nowhere. It was kind of like that. Like we were leaving mass, and that circle, what is it called? Whatever, the roundabout. As we were leaving, he popped in my head. I was like, okay, I should call Marlene. So I called her, and she's like, why did you call me? And I was like, yeah, I thought about Angelo. And she's like, his death date is tomorrow. We're going there tomorrow. And his dad's Orthodox. So Marlene is Catholic. His dad is Orthodox. And so they had some Orthodox priests come out, say some prayers. And then that's when we went to brunch. But I need to write that story, because it's a pretty powerful one. Like, Marlene thinks I'm some like clairvoyant, but I'm like, no, that's just the Holy Spirit. Like, that happens to people.
Yeah.
It's one thing living it and then having to like retell the story and being like, oh wait, no, it actually happened here. But I brought up that story because obviously he died of an addiction. And that's the evil that's happening in this world. Like, there's so many evils, and that's one of them. And, honestly, prayer, it's not just prayer that heals things. There also has to be action taken. But addicts, a lot of the times, people don't end up praying for them once they're so deep in their addiction because they've fractured their relationships with everybody in their lives. Parents do everything they can to help their kids that are addicted. I've seen it with 3 people, and they all died of an overdose. It's so sad. But I mean, I don't want to focus on like the negative parts of it.
You know what? How it's very hard to not, because I mean, we're talking about, it's the patron saint for addiction. So it's kind of hard not to get
that deep
yeah, on it. See, for like, I never knew anybody that was like deeply on hardcore drugs. For me, where the addiction runs is more like alcoholic. I don't know. I see it a lot in like Hispanic culture, drinking to have fun and everything. And me personally, within my life, there's a lot of family members that have addictions to alcohol. And it did affect me in the way I look on life, and it affected me in the way that I am. So like, not realizing it, when I was younger, I would drink here and there, but then all the time, even when I was depressed, I like wanted to push myself, like, oh, just, I felt the voice of like, oh, just have a drink to kind of console yourself. But then I also felt that pull of pulling me away. Like, no, that's not the way to go about it. But throughout, besides like, teenager drinking, here and there, growing up, I would say now, like into adulthood, I maybe only have like 1 drink in a year, maybe 2. And I think it's because of seeing it.
That it's really wise. Yeah. I mean, how it's affected your family, how it's affected you personally. Yeah. It's wise to be watchful of those things. Yeah. Right? And now we're not saying that you should only limit yourself to 1 or 2 drinks a year. Everybody's going to be different. No. And that's why we all need to have our own personal relationship with God, because then we need to be aware of like where our vices are or where our temptations can be. So, I mean, like, I was addicted to alcohol. I didn't do, like, a program to get out of it. I honestly fasted, prayed, like, I had people praying for me. But I do drink. I do socially. Mm-hmm. Me and Michael will have a margarita for date night. But, weddings. But I'm not, like, harboring bottles of wine and hiding them from my family when they come over. I'm very wise with it now. But that comes with a lot of spiritual formation, a lot of discipline.
Yeah, when I'm explaining, it's more like the effects it has on people around that are living through it or have seen it or are being affected. Whether you realize it or not, whether you're close to that person or not, it has some type of effect on you.
I agree. So this is scripture that I think about often, especially having battled addictions, and I came out of them, and I am now very aware of what I'm putting into my body. But this is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same experience of suffering is required of your brotherhood throughout the world. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, establish, and strengthen you. To him be the dominion forever and ever. Amen. So this is something that because of this passage, I am very aware of how temptations can arise when I have a little bit too much to drink. The devil does really come in. I get really, my thing is when I drink too much, and I never intend to, but I get to that point, just not paying attention. I end up crying to Michael about something. So we'll be like getting ready for bed and I'm like, oh, you didn't do this, or I'm mad at you about this, or like this happened, and Michael's like, just have some water. And he'll give me a snack, and then I go to bed,
coffee.
And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened in a while, because the last time that I drank heavily was on accident. I was drinking with my best friend, and we were just so excited to be with each other, and like we just don't drink a lot in general now like we used to. And so we were excited. We got a couple bottles, actually more than a couple bottles of soju, and we were just having a good night. And then the next day we suffered for it, and we both said we need to make sure that we limit it. So I was actually, I went on Truthfully, and I was like, is this a mortal sin? And getting too drunk is a mortal sin. So I did go to confession that day. But now what my rule is, I figured this out with the AI, is before we start drinking, we set a rule. Okay, we're only drinking one of these bottles. That's it. And we both agreed to that. Like, I talked to her about it. I was like, we're only limited to this amount. Set that rule before you even start, because it's very easy to just slip and keep going, at least for me and people like me. Oh, sin. Yes, it is a mortal sin to be very drunk. Mm-hmm. It separates you from God.
Oh, I got a perfect verse. Actually, it just came out. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8. It says, "Be sober, be vigilant."
I just read that.
Oh, the roaring lion?
Yeah.
The devil walks in? Oh. I was probably focused on like trying to rock her.
Great minds think alike.
Let's see.
She thought she was saying something profound.
Nothing I say is profound.
Yes,
I'll just crawl back into my little hole, guys. No. Just don't listen to me.
Without this friendship, I would not be here today. I literally would not be here today. I wouldn't be at the school. I wouldn't be. No. Thank you for being so profound.
So, like, one of the ways to be able to use him is to embrace humility after every fall. So that kind of goes back to, like, you know, you knew that you maybe drank too much, and you realize your sin.
The longer that I'm Catholic, the faster I am to catch those things. I used to be in like denial about it, like, oh no, or like justify it. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was fine.
That's a
it wasn't
big one.
That bad.
Justifying,
huh?
Justifying it. Yeah,
I used to do that a lot.
Yeah, I think it's because so much we want to think that we don't do wrong. I think the powerful part is acknowledging that we all fall short. And then if we can acknowledge that, then it's easier to confess when we did do wrong. Mm-hmm. So how do you think, I guess, how do you lead with this, with Maximilian Kolbe in your life with the kids? Or how do you feel like, knowing everybody you've known and kind of what you've experienced, how do you handle that with, or how do you think you might, because your kids are little now, you know, even my kids handle it with the conversations you think you might handle it. I guess, how would you handle it?
I guess it's just trying to lead holy lives. I always want to be honest with my kids about what's in the world. talk to them about what's age appropriate. Sometimes hard things do come up, and I do have to say, like, there are people who have made really hard decisions, like bad decisions, and it's led them to a really hard life.
I mean, the same. I think holding the truth goes a long way when you're talking to your kids. That's kind of what we stand on as parents, as far as like Omar and I. Just we try to keep the truth to them, you know, obviously at age wise. But I mean, there's come times where we've come across like, oh, why is that person acting that way, or why are they? Well, they're on drugs right now. Well, what's that? So then it leads into certain conversations, but kind of letting them know, like, you know, this is why it goes into a lot, because it's also teaching them how to say no to things, teaching them how to be able to not give in to peer pressure. And that kind of falls into that conversation too, especially my oldest is getting closer and closer to high school. So I'm thinking about how am I going to have these conversations and teaching her everything that, you know, goes on as she gets older and starts, you know, experiencing college and what she may see out in the world, you know, stuff that she's been very much, I think, shielded from, and how to handle that.
I don't think she's been shielded. I think, especially in our area, you're not going to see a lot of like addicts on the street. Mm-hmm. So she's not exposed to it. But I think that, you know, when it does come up, because it will, she's going to experience.
I will say she's shielded more than because I know she obviously knows. I mean, I think we would be in denial if we were a parent that think that their preteen doesn't know as much as we think they know.
They know a lot, especially with
the internet and their friends. They learn a lot just from friends. But I mean, my first experience with like even weed was at like the age of, I was maybe like in 5th grade. So to her, she has no experience of that, you know,
no personal experience
to that, you know, as you know, so it's completely different lives. Like I'm very proud of the way she is now and the way we've conducted raising her and stuff like that, but yeah, it's different.
I think as long as you hold fast to the Catholic teaching throughout your life, it's gonna you'll be fine, because you're not going to be able to stop her from experiencing things. Like she might try something, but you teach her what you can up front, and if she does end up doing something and falling short, you teach her how to reconcile. That's why they teach confession at a young age. That's why they teach reconciliation in the prayers. And I personally don't expect my kids to be absolutely perfect and like not, you know, be able to avoid everything, right? They're going to experiment as they leave the nest, but we're equipping them with the faith and planting those seeds, and it's God who decides when those grow. I hate thinking that I can't protect them from everything in the world. But I'm never going to stop praying for them, and I'm never going to not teach them things, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I think the one thing that I am very big on is making sure that I have a personal relationship with each of them, because it's very easy to stay in the position of, I'm your authority. I'm your parent. It's my job to make sure that you grow up into a decent, well-rounded human being. But I also have to remember, like, they crave that relationship with me and Michael. And so we're intentional about making sure that we know what they're into and what they like. And so as they get older, they still trust us. They're probably going to hide things, but
yeah,
we'll talk to them.
Yeah, I think honesty is a big role.
So as far as St. Maximilian Kolbe, having an effect on my motherhood, I mean, I would just say, just from my experience with him, with my son, and the more that I learn about him, I love the humility that he had in his life on earth, how he surrendered everything to give his life for the greater glory of God, and his story is still being told.
Mm-hmm. I love how, I mean, it shows how much Mary plays a part in all of our lives, and that, you know, just like any other mother, she's right there with Jesus. So when we talk to her, we talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a big advocate for mental health and just being aware of what's going on in your brain. I've always been that way. One thing that I'm so passionate about when it comes to my kids is whenever there's a wound that I inflict on them and I realize it, I always come back to apologize and try to heal that and explain to them like where I was coming from and why that was wrong and how I'm going to be better. I'm going to try my best to be better, because a lot of what we experience as millennials from our parents is that there was a wound that was inflicted, and then a lot of the times there was no like reconciliation, there was no apology. And I think that's just a generational thing. But now that we're adults, and I've learned that people operate out of their wounds, and that's how addictions are formed, is that they have this wound that they that hasn't healed properly, and they're operating out of that, and then addictions take place. I want to reduce the chance of them being addicted or running to other things that aren't God by reconciling with them.
Well, yeah, because a lot of what I've seen is for alcohol is always a coping mechanism.
A pacifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you know, not able to go through the emotions or be able to handle them or deal with them, and instead used the bottle to forget about them. Or I think that's the biggest thing, is maybe giving them the tools to be able to tackle those times when they have hard times and they can't, how to handle it.
Prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
Adoration.
Mm-hmm.
The devil doesn't care what we turn to as long as it's not God, as long as we're not talking to God.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's, as mothers, we pray that we lead our children to the waters of eternal life, that we teach them through our own action to go to the Eucharist, go to adoration, pray the Rosary, have a devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary,
mm-hmm.
and to rely on God.
I think that's the biggest part as a mother. I think that's the hardest part as a mother, when we see our kids struggling, or if we have a child that is addicted, or we have troubles ourselves as mothers, because there's moms out there that have addictions right now, to rely on God and just put your faith and prayer into them.
It breaks with you. The cycle breaks with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're currently dealing with something, you're struggling with something, you heard something in this episode where you're like, okay, I relate to that. Put your trust in God. The only way is through. Next time you feel like reaching for that bottle or lighting up
the needle,
anything, turn to prayer first. In the last episode, we talked about the St. Michael the Archangel prayer. Use that prayer. Mm-hmm. Find it. Mm-hmm. Look it up right now. Say it with your whole heart.
And do not give up if you fall short that time. Don't say, oh, it didn't work. Just keep up. It's the consistency. Let God know that you're listening and you're trying, and that's what you need to do at the end of the day, is continue trying and continue praying. Well, thank you for listening to Alyssamay and I. We love learning the faith and having these real talks. We hope you learned something or can connect with us. Follow us on our social medias, linked below, and stream on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thank you.
Good night. God bless.